Thank you both. Mr. Sheehan, 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I'm going to redirect some of my questions to Henry. You mentioned that there was 122,000 direct and indirect jobs in the steel industry. Well, 14,000 of those direct and indirect jobs are in Sault Ste. Marie at SR Steel and Tenaris Tubes, along with 8,000 other pensioners that live in the area as well. So I wanted to ask you about Budget 2016 that you alluded to, and the modernization and the trade remedies that were put in there. Have they been successful? And describe what they did for the industry before I get on to 2017.
So the changes in 2016, the major one there was that the initial trade remedy, which were previous to that, were for 5 years, are now going to be for almost 6 years. So that's in line with what the United States and other major countries throughout the world have. So the new cases that we've had, so we just had another rebar case, we have some OCTG cases, all those now will have the brand new 6-year time frame associated with them, which will help the industry.
That's very good. So moving on to, and part of the 2016 budget was the consultation process that you and your association, along with the unions and many other stakeholders, vigorously participated in, and it was great. There was 4, in my opinion, key recommendations that came forward in the 2017 budget. One on particular market situation, one on anti-circumvention, and one on scope rulings, and of course the union participation, which you talked about. Could you please describe to us how those 4 particular items, how they will work within the industry and how they'll benefit?
Sure. The biggest change we were after was around what Member Sheehan mentioned, was around particular market situation. And what that is the companies outside of North America offshore are getting really, really smart at trying to circumvent anti-dumping duty orders. So they will do things in order to have their costs and prices not reflect market realities, thereby reducing their dumping margins and hurting Canadian steel producers. So what this does, it now gives the Canadian government officials within CBSA the ability to say, hey, your prices and costs aren't actually market-based. There's something happening in your market that is distorting it, and we're going to adjust for those factors to bring it up to a market-based price or cost, and therefore have the appropriate dumping margin. That was the first one. The second one was around scope rulings. So this is an increase in the transparency of the process, where if a producer here in Canada or someone from offshore says we want to know whether this product is within scope or not in scope of a ruling previously, that would kind of be done without everybody knowing about it. Now it's going to be a transparent process where companies can participate and actually determine whether the product is or without scope, and provide arguments either way, similar to how it was done in other countries at this time. And then there was another big area was around anti-circumvention. So now there will be a formal process that if countries outside of Canada try to cheat the system through either mislabeling or transshipment of products, then we are able to then have a process and actually provide dumping duties on those products who are actually trying to cheat the Canadian system and the Canadian government and its people.
And as you mentioned, the union participation allows them to contribute in saying how this could hurt their membership and their pensioners and et cetera. So the other thing that you mentioned too was the 232 that the United States is undergoing. And we were in Washington with the industry committee not too long ago, and it was an opportunity for us to, highlight and remind them that we have the longest unprotected border in the world, and we have a shared, defense in NORAD. So it's one of those things that I know is worrisome because of the opportunity for them to use sort of backdoor on steel. But we also have trade balance, both in dollars and in tonnage, and the supply chain for the auto sector, for the the products that we use in making steel here is follow through. So I commend you on pointing that out, because it is important. It's actually, in my opinion, a place where North American free trade agreement works quite well. So going on to some of the changes that we made, you mentioned, I'm going to ask you the question, does it bring us closer and more aligned with the United States as it relates to what they're doing with trade?
It absolutely does. So we're, as you mentioned, we're in an integrated market with Canada, US, and Mexico. Whether we produce automobiles or energy pipes or construction goods, there is no border from a commercial perspective. We all make things together. So in that regard, when we get unfair trade in Canada, the US suffers because they ship 6 million tons of steel to Canada. When the US has unfair trade, we suffer because we ship 6 million tons to the United States. So we all have to build up our defenses in alignment. Otherwise, we all suffer. And that's why in my remarks I mentioned that that Canada now putting in the trade remedies modernization that we have done here, or proposed in the bill, that has sent a really big signal to the US that we are there also, in terms of looking at it as a NAFTA perimeter to protect from unfair trade and protect our integrated supply chains and economic activities.
We'll have to